welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to be making some pumpkin pancakes using pumpkin from a can. They're very delicious and very good to eat in the fall. So let's get started. I'll show you all our ingredients. So we're using flour. I like to use 100% whole wheat flour. You can use whatever flour you want. And we're using a little bit of vinegar. Oh, actually, we're going to use the white vinegar. And we're using some oil. This is either canola oil or vegetable oil. I don't remember, but it doesn't really matter. Baking powder, baking soda, several different kinds of spices, including cinnamon, allspice, and ginger. I already showed you the pumpkin, and we also have some milk and some brown sugar. Okay. And we're going to be cooking the pancakes on our electric griddle. You can also cook it on a cast iron, if you have a big cast iron griddle or something like that, or if you have this kind of thing on your stovetop, like some people do. Alright, so let's move this here so you can see what we're doing here. And let's mix our dry ingredients. So normally when you're baking, you mix your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients separately and then combine them. So this bowl is going to be for mixing our liquid or wet ingredients. So we're going to mix together milk, pumpkin, egg, oil, and vinegar. And we're going to need 1.5 cups of milk. So I have my measuring cups here. I also have a special measuring cup that's just for liquids. They do recommend that you should use the liquid measuring cup for liquids and the dry measuring cups for dry stuff. In a pinch, you could still use this for the liquid. I don't think it's going to destroy your recipe or anything, but it is recommended at least to use the liquid measurement. So that's what we'll do. 1.5 cups of milk. Looks like this goes up to 1 cup. And since that was only 1, I'm going to do the half now. Now we need 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Let's close this and put it away before it gets spilled. Oh, and while I'm at it, I'm also getting my butter and maple syrup out of the refrigerator so that they will not be ice cold when we go to put them on our nice hot pancakes. Okay, 1 cup pumpkin puree. Funny story, one time when one of my aunts was asking my great-grandmother for her pumpkin pie recipe, she asked, well, what do you need to do once you buy the pumpkin? How do you need to prepare it in order to get it ready to put in your pumpkin pie recipe? And my great-grandmother said, oh, honey, don't bother with that. Just use Libby's. So even a great-grandmother did not do every single thing from scratch. Toss that in the sink before someone cuts themselves. Here. Alright, and now we're going to need our egg. Now for baking, they do recommend that you have all your ingredients be at room temperature. So technically I should have got these out at least an hour ago. I forgot, so I just got them out a minute ago. It's not going to ruin your recipe, but if you're having trouble with your recipe for some reason, or you just want to be on the safe side, try just getting your ingredients out at least an hour ahead of time so that they're all at room temperature. Yes, so speaking of being on the safe side, we're going to break this egg into a separate dish here. I mean, just in case there would be something wrong with the egg. That way we'll find out right away if it's good or it's bad, and we won't ruin our other ingredients by cracking it directly into this. So, as you can see, it's fine, so we're going to add that. This makes great compost, by the way. We don't have a compost heap here, so I'm just chucking it. I'm also going to wash my hands just because I just touched a raw egg. Alright, our next step is 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Here we go. Here's our tablespoon, just in case you're not familiar. And this is our teaspoon. So you can see a tablespoon and teaspoon are different. If you're looking at your recipe, tablespoon is sometimes the short version of it is a capital Tbsp, but the short version of teaspoon, as you can see, actually that doesn't help you because it's all capitals, but normally the teaspoon abbreviation is all lowercase tsp. Alright, so we need 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And then we need 2 tablespoons of vinegar. You might be wondering, it's a kind of strange, why in the world are we putting vinegar in our pancake recipe? The reason is that some pancake recipes call for buttermilk, but if you don't have buttermilk around, you can substitute, you can kind of make a fake buttermilk to substitute. And the way you do that is by mixing a certain amount of milk with a certain amount of lemon juice or vinegar. And those two together makes a buttermilk substitute. So that's what they're doing in this recipe here. The milk that we already added, plus this 2 tablespoons of vinegar, is gonna make this like a buttermilk pancake. Now, even if you are a big fan of electric mixers and you have an electric mixer, this is not really something that you would want to use an electric mixer on, because with pancakes you don't want to over mix them. And electric mixers are sometimes just like overkill. They come on really fast and they beat everything super fast, and that can be helpful for certain recipes, but for our pancakes we don't want to risk overbeating them. So just by hand is good. Alright, once the ingredients are mixed, stop mixing. We don't want to overmix. Now we're going to put our dry ingredients into a separate bowl, and that would be the flour, brown sugar, baking powder, baking soda, allspice, cinnamon, ginger, and salt. I'm going to back up the camera a little bit to show you the measuring a little bit better. So we fill up our cup of our flour, then we level it off. You don't want to pack it down. Here, this will work. You can use the edge of a knife or this, something like that, just something that's a straight edge. So tap, 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 just to kind of start leveling it off, and then scrape it across to really level it off. You don't pack flour down, you don't want it to be packed. Brown sugar is the ingredient that you have to pack into the cup, but not flour, because you want the flour to stay light. Okay, now we're gonna level it off. for working with wheat flour, which is my favorite to work with because it's better for you. But it can be more dense than the white flour, which is not that good for you. This is more dense. So sometimes people have trouble with their baked goods coming out a little too heavy when they use all wheat flour. So my trick is to just take a pinch out. And then I get a whisk and whisk it up to make it lighter. Another thing you can do is actually sift your flour. I don't have a flour sifter here to show you what that is, but basically it's just a sifter that's made especially for sifting flour, or you can just use a regular sieve, I suppose, but I usually just do this cheat that is much quicker than sifting all your flour. And it has the same, well, it has the same results of keeping your flour more light. Now we need 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Alright, so I'm starting to fill up my spoon with the brown sugar. I'm kind of heaping it up because then, just to keep my hand from getting all sugary, I'm gonna put the bag over top of this and then just press down on top of it through the bag. Okay, so now it's packed down into the spoon. Next, we level it off. There. And as you can see, it makes a perfect little sandcastle type thing. That is how your brown sugar should look when you measure it. Now we need our baking powder and our baking soda. We need 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. These are both leavening agents, which means that is what makes your baked goods rise and be fluffy instead of flat and hard as a rock. These are 2 different things, as similar as their names sound, so don't get them mixed up. Some recipes call for just one or the other, and some recipes call for both. Alright, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This baking powder tin has a handy little edge which allows you to level it off really easily. 1, 2, and 1 teaspoon of our baking soda, and finally our spices and salt. Yes, don't forget the salt. I always recommend using extra because why not? Another busy one. Half teaspoon. Alright, and now we're going to combine these together. Oh, there's a mess here. One issue you sometimes have is the brown sugar doesn't really want to break itself up, so get out of there. Alright, and finally we're going to stir the dry mix into the liquid mix and mix them together just enough to combine it. do that, I'm going to let my griddle start heating up here. It says high heat, and this one goes 1 to 5, so I'm going to put it on 5. We'll see how it goes. Also, you're supposed to grease your griddle a little bit. So I'm just going to use a tiny bit of this vegetable oil. And spread it around with this. Probably should have used a bigger bowl. Oh, I'm just really messy. And that smells like it started burning, so we're gonna lower that to 4. This is an issue that I sometimes have because I use 100% whole wheat flour and it's more dense, is the dough turns out not really liquidy enough to pour like what you want with pancake batter. You want it to be able to pour easily. So I'm gonna add a little more milk. And I'm going to get smart and put some of this in a different bowl because I don't want my bowl to overflow. Just add a little at a time. You don't want to overdo it and then have it be too liquidy. Ah, I keep doing that. I'm trying to show you and then I spill it everywhere. Okay, so let's test and see if it's liquidy enough to pour on the griddle, and it is. Yikes, I'm glad I turned it down to 4. I'm going to turn it down to 3. I think it's a little too hot, but we'll see. Alright, let's just see how these two turn out, and we'll be back to show you the results. Alright, this is turning out pretty good. So I just flipped the first pancake. You can tell when it's ready to be flipped. Let's see, is that too glary? Can you see that? I think it's too glared. There. Alright, so the way you can tell when it's ready to be flipped is see how the edges start to look kind of dry? And also, the bubbles that were popping along the edges have now left little dents. Normally when the dough is still super liquid, the batter is still super liquid, the little bubbles will pop and then close right over and you can never even tell it was there. But when it's ready to be flipped, the bubbles leave behind little dents that don't close over. So we're going to flip this one. Sorry, I hope you're not getting seasick there. Up. Okay, that one got a little brown while I was talking, but it's okay. Some people like them brown and they're not burnt. Alright, we'll be back. Actually, let's just... No, we can't move it yet. It's still too damp. Let's let these go for a bit and we'll be back to pour some more. Okay, what I've done while waiting is I've gotten the counter nice and clean because I can't stand a dirty kitchen. And I've put away my ingredients. I've also gotten out a platter for the finished pancakes to sit on. And we have 2 that are ready to go onto that platter. You can see they're nice and brown and well cooked. Here they go. And they're going to be stacked up on here, which will help keep each other warm and toasty. Alright, let's put a few more pancakes on the griddle. There, now you can see this little phenomenon I told you about before, how the bubbles are popping. I don't know if you actually can see, can you? There, you can see some bubbles like on the edges here. There, 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 there. And they're popping, and then they just fill right back in. So, they're not ready to turn yet, obviously, because I just put them on. Let's let them cook for a bit and come right back. I forgot about this special little surprise. I'm cooking these for the staff at the library, and one of the library staff members requested chocolate chips in the pancakes. So, let's just add a few of these in. I don't know if you can see, and may not spill these everywhere at the same time, but we'll try. Chocolate chip join. Okay, as you can see, these are looking great. I just flipped that one. You can see that the little bubble holes are frozen like little craters, and the edges look dry, so that means it is flipping time. And maybe not for that one. Let's see, that one's a little gummy still. Let's try this one. Right. Yeah, there we go. Perfecto. Alright, I hope that you have fun making and eating these pancakes if you decide to try it. I recommend it with butter and maple syrup. But what do you like? Let us know what toppings you prefer. Here's some of our finished ones. All right, have a great week and see you next week back in the kitchen. Bye.